Welcome back, T-Bird fans, and as always, especially when we got Coach Am in here, another great episode of our Coaches Show. Welcome back, Coach Am.
Thanks.
Or should I say Mr. Am, Mr. Coach?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. It makes me feel better.
Well, yeah, I'm all about making you feel better because I tell you what, you sure make us and the fans feel great because, once again, another W, and now it's put you squarely in first place, kind of controlling your own destiny within the region.
Right.
How does that feel?
It's good. Always you'd rather be in controlling your own destiny than hoping somebody else does something. So, it's one of the goals they set at the beginning of the year was to be in that spot. That spot gives you a bye in the first round. It's a good feeling. We're playing well. We've had some players step up that we weren't sure what they could do, and they did, and that's a good thing for us. So we're excited.
Absolutely, and yeah, especially against Western Wyoming, who had control of that, and they were ranked high. And so tell us a little bit more about that game.
Yeah, they're really tough. They're very physical. They move the ball well. They presented some big matchup problems for us, and the game started a couple of really interesting scenarios. It was a pretty calm day, little tiny breeze blowing, and we knew that maybe the wind might kick up. So we decided, if we won the toss, that we would defend going into that slight wind. And sure enough, at halftime, the wind kicked up, and now the wind was at our back. But it was 0, and Western Wyoming was on top of us. They were pressing on us. They had it down there a lot. We were just, we kept, hey, let's just keep them out of the goal. We'll make the adjustments. We were able to do that. In the second half, the wind kicked up, helped us control a little bit more. I thought we played a really good second half, and fortunately, we were able to score about halfway through the half, and that ended up being the game winner. They're very tough team, very big and physical, and so we were fortunate, but good for us to win that game.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about that goal. 30 yards out, kind of a little blooper over the goalie's head. I mean, it doesn't look great, but hey, a goal is a goal, right?
Right. Jessa Lynn from Powell, Wyoming, has really come on the last few weeks. I think she has 5 or 6 goals now. She's very fast. She's very physical. Her mindset is go to goal, shoot. And where the angle of that goal was not one where you would, when she took the shot, she's 30 yards out, and it was kind of a miss hit, but it kind of loops up in the air, and it just came down just at the perfect angle. And the keeper got a hand on it, but it still, goes in the goal, and you take it. I mean, it's like, hey, all right, well, anything in that game, because statistically at the end of the game, it was 11 shots to 11 shots. Our keeper only made 3 saves. I think their keeper made 4. They had 4 corner kicks. We had 2. So it was very close, statistical. And so if somebody was going to win that game, it was going to be 1 goal. And the one thing we didn't want was the tie. The tie would have made it a 3-way tie for first place in the league. The win moved us ahead of everybody.
Absolutely. And then let's talk about, because we usually don't get to talk about defense or our goalkeepers here, but Emmy Finlinson with kind of a game saver, and let's talk a little bit more about that.
Right.
One.
So I mean, there was before that goal, they'd kind of broken free, and the girl got a shot off, which was headed right to her, and then it deflected and went the other direction, and she made a big save and got a hand on it and kept it out of the goal. That would have changed the game. They would have been ahead 1-0, and probably that's where it would have resulted, because everything after that doesn't exist. Everything changes at that point. So, she made a big save to keep that 0. And I think it was about 5-6 minutes later we scored that goal the other direction. So, yeah, she had a big game for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta love it when people step up and make those plays, and it's like, hey, I know you've been doing great all season, but here, I mean, that's your defining moment.
Right. In that situation, Western Wyoming came to the game ranked 15th. They'd played some very good competition and beaten them and they'd earned that ranking. So for us, it was all right. We were ranked 20th; they were ranked 15. And this is for the outright lead. This is for the opportunity that you control your destiny to host the conference tournament. For us to get that and have a couple kids step up in those moments did really big, or helped us in a big situation. Caitlin Grenfell was another one who came in later in the game, and we'd put her in a spot where she hadn't played a lot, but her energy and her attitude, it just fired us up. She did a couple of really good things, won a ball deep, got some corner kicks and a couple of deep throw-ins for us, and so was glad to see her in that situation step up and really help us as well.
Well, I'm curious now. With the part of the game, what would you say would be the most important? Because you had her sub in kind of later in the game. Would you say the very beginning of the game is the most important, right after halftime, toward the end? What would you say is kind of like the key moment?
Well, you always want to be playing better. As the game goes on, later in the game is always more important. It was Western Wyoming that we thought looked a little tired, and that we controlled the ball or controlled the game as the game went on. So the longer the game went, we were more in control of the game. It's not that they didn't have opportunities, and we weren't dominating them, but we controlled it better. And so you'd always want to have that, and especially when we had the lead, we weren't playing anxious, we weren't playing nervous, and so that aspect for us, we've always been able to make really good adjustments at halftime, or the players, and they listen, and they get that done. And so controlling the game late would be, for me, one of the most important things.
All right. So you had the big win this last weekend. Now you're on the road again, still conference play. You've got 3 games total left. You got 2 this weekend. You got Northwest, and you got Central.
Right.
Let's talk about Northwest.
Northwest, very similar to Western Wyoming. They played a game, a 2-1 game. So we played them early in the year, 2-1. Very windy game. Some different starters in that game for us than what we're playing now. Very fast. They've got a couple of girls. I think the leading goal scorer in the league plays for Northwestern. I think when we looked, she had 13 goals and several assists. They have another girl that's got 8 or 9 goals as well. So they're very capable of scoring. Laramie, they played them very close. They've had some tendencies that they've given up some goals in chunks, and so we're hoping that we can take advantage of that. Either way, for us, it's about let's manage the game the right way, and hopefully we win it. But they're dangerous, and you make a mistake here and there. They're the type of team that they're going to get the shot off and they're going to score on you, and you don't want to come from behind. You'd rather control that, get up on them, and win. When we played them the last time, we were up 2-0. We're controlling the game pretty good. They had the wind at their back in the second half, and they were able to score a goal late to make it 2-1. And when that happened, the last 5-6 minutes of the game get a little bit nervous and scary because their energy pops up, and you're not sure if you're going to hold on for a tie or win the game. So we know we have our hands full. That's a very tough opponent, and it's on the road, and all of those things can be factors. The good thing for us is it's the first game of the 2 days in a row. The next game we have Central College. So
yeah, you mentioned about being on the road. You've played there before. You beat them here. How is playing at their place going to affect you at all? Or how's their field or their atmosphere?
Right. It's a very nice field. The challenge on the road is it's what you're doing the night before. We're on the road and you're with a teammate on the road. We'll drive up Thursday, but you're going to get in late. Then you're trying to sleep. We play, I think, at 2 o'clock the next day. I'd rather play at 11 o'clock the next day, so we get up, we're going, go and play, rather than, we got to kind of sit around until 2 o'clock. The kids kind of You know, we get a breakfast, we kind of relax at the hotel until they kick us out. But then there's kind of that period in there where it's like, all right, what do we do before we play? So those are always challenges, and the biggest thing is the energy factor. You know, are we going to come out with the right energy? Are we groggy because we slept in the hotel bed with a couple of teammates on the road? And did we get the right food? But I think our girls, they know the situation, and they'll be fired up for that game, knowing that that again, keeping us in first place, winning that game keeps them in first place to be able to get a bye and host the tournament.
Absolutely, and we'll come back to that one after we talk a little bit more about Central, because you've come, I believe last time you beat them as 4-0, I want to say.
4-1, I think.
4-1. 4-1. You're going to be at their place again, and as we've seen, especially with the Western Nebraska game, it's not necessarily going to end up in that same result.
Right.
What do we expect against Central?
Yeah, you know, I've watched them play a couple of times, little clips here and there, and they've definitely improved. They're, again, the difference between, you know, if you're going to go out and dominate and beat a team 4-1, 5-0, whatever it is, you might do that the first time, and you're going to see a team the second time, they're just going to step up, and they're not going to let you do that. They've beat some teams, and they've made some games very close, but throughout play. And when we played them up here the first time, they did have several players that were injured and out.
Okay.
So we don't look at any of that from the first game against us. We won't even watch that film. We'll watch who they played last, and really pay attention to their movement and how well they're connecting now as opposed to 6 weeks ago. They have some very capable players. You know, again, if you're tired, which we might be because it's a second game, if we're not sharp, which you might be, then you're going to have your hands full. You know, Trinidad was
great
example of that. You know, we had played Otero, who's really good, and played a fantastic game, high energy game. You know, very emotional game. You win that game, and you're excited, but then you got to come back down to earth, try to turn around to play the next game, and man, we struggled with Trinidad. It ended up, I think, being a 4-1 game, but it was 1-0 at half, and they had plenty of opportunities that were making us uncomfortable. And it was in the second half where we settled down and controlled the ball a little bit more, and some other players come in off the bench that made the difference for us there. And so we're hoping that same scenario presents itself with them.
Okay, and who are you hoping will step up, or who do you need to stay consistent and really show up this weekend to kind of take control of those games?
You know, there's a possibility of a couple girls that might not be able to play, and so Brittany Egbert, who's been playing as a center back, she played in the Western Wyoming game a lot more as a holding mid or the sixth position, and did a fantastic job. We're going to need her to do that again. Other girls, again, like a Caitlin Grenfell, you know, her minutes have to be effective. Anybody else who is going to end up playing in that middle for us, being effective, stopping their attack and not trying to do anything more than needs to be done. Make it simple. You know, girls like Amberlyn Hill, Anna McBride, girls who have started several games and play a lot of minutes, but they might have to play in slightly different spots for us to be successful.
Okay, so still a great outlook, and honestly, so going back now to how you're top of the region, I feel like with the last 3 games you have, it's a little bit, not to say easy, but a little bit more manageable of a schedule compared to what Otero and LCCC and even Western have to play, because I believe they're all 3 having to play each other.
They do. You know, we know that. In fact, on that this weekend when we're playing Northwest, Otero and Laramie, I believe, are playing each other. But yeah, listen. They're all our 3 remaining games they're all tough, but they're Laramie, Otero, and Western Wyoming all have to play each other, and they're right near the top of the league for a reason. because they've been successful. Now they have to play each other, and depending on the wins and losses, it could separate first and second a little more. Again, for us, it's a matter of let's do what we're supposed to do to give us the most success, and hopefully we win that game. We win out, we control our own destiny. What we don't want to rely on is somebody else having to make a mistake. Let's go take care of business ourselves.
And I have a great feeling that we will take care of business and
Hope
just
so.
play some focused and very efficient soccer.
Yep.
That's all we can hope for. So thanks, Coach.
You
And
bet.
T-Bird fans, unfortunately not here this week, but I imagine you might be able to catch them online. But we hope to see you next time.